Okay, just FYI, Paula Booth is going to be 10 minutes late. I have not heard from Spencer. So,
Spencer emailed. Oh. Spencer emailed me. He said he will be a little late to the meeting.
okay. It's 9:30. I am going to suggest that we call the meeting to order without a quorum and just hold off on approval of the agenda, and we can take public comment from Brian while he's here since he has another commitment. And then I will also just say that I'd like to, when Kate Van Ummerson from the Library Foundation dials in, perhaps around 10, that we hear from her and then go back to the agenda as posted. Is that okay with you, Keith? Yes,
I just let Kate and Carol in.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. Good morning. We okay, we are recording, Keith, right?
Yes, we are recording and live streaming to YouTube.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to call the meeting of the Salem Public Art Commission to order. Today is Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. It is 9:32 a.m. Let's start with introductions. We are without a quorum right now, but we're going to start because we have people who are here to give public testimony. So I'm Chris Darcy, Chair of the Commission.
Zach Hall, Commissioner.
Susan Apac, Commissioner.
Keith.
I'm Keith Bondog Wynn, City Staff.
And how about our guests? Introduce yourselves, please. Starting with you. Oh, go ahead, Carol.
I'm Carol Snyder, Salem Parks Foundation.
And I'm Kate Van Ummerson. I'm the Executive Director of the Salem Public Library Foundation.
I'm Brian Hart, just giving public comment today.
And Olivia, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia Munoz, and I am a guest and local resident of Salem, and am happy to get more information about this commission.
Welcome. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I am going to open up the floor for public comment and welcome Brian Hart, longtime advocate for public art in Salem. So, Brian, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. My public comment is going to be pretty short today, but I really just want to express my gratitude for the street painting program that the city of Salem has kind of offered up to everybody in local neighborhoods. To see that painting go up at the Grant neighborhood was really exciting. And I just feel this really great buzz around all the different neighborhoods about getting something done in their neighborhood. And I actually just moved kind of deeper into Ward 2. And I think I've secured some funds for our neighborhood. So I'm excited to hopefully make that happen in ours. So yeah, I just really want to say thank you for making that happen and being open to more art in Salem, because it's something that I am, like Chris said, I'm a big advocate for. So I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Well, thank you. And you may not know that Susan Napak, who's now a Spac member, is on the Grant Neighborhood Board and was part of the group that helped make that street mural happen at Cottage in Belmont. It was a really fun weekend. I went over a couple times to check on things. And it sounds like Travel Salem, that they have already awarded money to 10 projects across the city. So the news about this I think the success in the Grant neighborhood sparked a lot of interest, and I'm appreciative that Travel Salem put even a small amount of money on the table, and people went after it. So I hope we'll hear more, and I hope that all of you will be just ambassadors in your own neighborhoods. I'm in Ward 2, and I'm also in the Scan neighborhood where Brian now lives. And things moved so fast. I mean, there was some excitement in my Fairmount neighborhood, and now it's like all the money's gotten snatched up. That is
Yeah,
a good problem.
It was gone in
Susan?
2 days.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to offer that if anyone, needs any advice or wants to hear our experience, and, we're really open to meeting with people, talking with people. It was a great experience for us, and we were really excited to be the first in Salem to do it. And the Public Works was wonderful to work with to make it happen too. They kind of built the program around what we wanted to do, so it was great.
And I will also say that the artist who did the mural in the Grant neighborhood, her name is Erica Baker. She also did an interior mural on the second floor of the Broadway Commons. And I was not aware of that. I had never seen it before, and I had a chance to be in that building a couple of weekends ago. It's really beautiful, really, really beautiful, coffee themed and very, very bold and lively, really cool. So I do hope that, this becomes an opportunity where artists of all kinds can get involved and, build some kind of neighborhood pride. All right. Anything else, Brian, before we let you go to your other meeting?
No, just thanks again for having this program. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. And Susan, I will definitely hopefully connect with you soon about some ideas and tips and things like that. So I appreciate it.
Keith,
Thank you for your thank you.
Keith, was any other public comment submitted for our meeting today?
No additional comment was submitted.
Okay, great. I know that later on the agenda, we have an agenda item that Kate Van Ummerson was going to speak to. I'm wondering if we might, since we're still without a quorum, if we might just move that up and take it now. And then if we need to take action on anything, I don't believe it's an action item for today. But would you like to speak about that at this point, Kate?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
welcome.
Happy to. Yeah, thank you. Nice to see everybody. So what I have for the SPAC Commission is a proposal to, actually, Chris, before I get started, what amount of time are you willing to add for this subject?
5 minutes? Does that sound
Okay.
right, Keith?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
great.
perfect. So what I'd like to do with the commission is propose the potential of giving the Salem Public Library art collection to the city of Salem to be managed under the library administration and SPAC. So I'll give you a little bit of background about why the Library Foundation has an art collection and how it's evolved over the years, and how it seems to our board now that it might be a good time to combine the city library art collection and the foundation art collection that is housed in the library. So the foundation's been around since 1981, and one of the primary focuses, well, there were three when they started. The foundation was to raise money for an endowment, to fund programming at the library, and then to also allow or enable a free place for the general public to view art that they didn't have to pay for, which was not something that was available in town at that time. And so over the years, the art community has evolved and matured and really grown beautifully here in Salem. And so the library is just one of the few places that art can be viewed, either public or paid for. And so part of what brings us to this question and exploration is that the Library Foundation has 44 pieces. Some of those pieces are of artists of significance, which is why they are in our collection. We were looking for original studio regional artists that could, so that the library collection could be representative of this region. And over the years, it's grown to be a really integral part of the library. And so it's something that we hope could stay here under the care of Spac. And so we had to move all the art out of the library, both the city collection and the foundation collection, and that was all stored together at X Gallery in Portland, which thank you, Zach. It was also a nice time to be able to see all of the work together and then understand how it would come back into the new building. And with the help of Eileen Cotter-Howell and a number of other people that volunteered on the project, we took both the Library Foundation collection and the Spac collection, and the city art collection that lives in the library, and we put them together and hung them and curated them as if they were one collection. And so if you haven't been in the library since it opened, I really would encourage you to come. The way the art is represented in all the public areas of the library is just amazing, and we're super happy the way it turned out. And we're also really happy with the collaboration between Spac and the library administration and the foundation. And we've done a lot of the background work in terms of labeling and researching the artists. And so it feels like a good time to, now that these collections are physically melded, that maybe it's a good time for the transfer of ownership. In terms of the foundation, we have had a long-term commitment, and many board members who have been on the art committee are significant people in the Salem art community, and a lot of people who really care about art. So it's important that it stays here and that it's presented to the public. We've made a point of not having anything in storage. And so with that, I'm hoping that you'll consider the potential of talking about and collaboratively finding a way that this suits the city and suits the library and suits the foundation. The benefit for the foundation is that we would be able to divert staff and resources to other library enhancements. The foundation trusts Spac in terms of their professionalism and their ability to manage and monitor and protect an art collection. And so we're hoping that you'll consider that. The one other thing is that the Library Foundation established an MOU with the city back in 2016 that did all the research of who owned what pieces in the library. So that's well established. And the foundation has, over the years, never chosen to appraise or insure the collection. And that is of some concern. In that it would be nice if it could be appraised and insured. So that would be part of this negotiation that we would have. And then we would also work with city legal on a gift agreement of some sort, which we've done with the foundation, or we've done with the city before on various enhancement projects to the library. So that I'd welcome questions and where you see this conversation going from here.
Great, thank you. Susan.
How did it come to be that some of the art was city owned and some is with the foundation?
The foundation acquired a lot of its art through gifts.
Yeah.
And we purchased a couple pieces. One of them was a Nancy Lindbergh piece recently. And I guess I'm unaware of the city's how they came to their art collection, but the library is the largest place for public art, like interior space that is very accessible to the public for art to hang. So I think as the city acquired more art, the library was a really likely place for that to land. Chris, could you add more?
Maybe a little bit. I do think that the library probably was the recipient of a number of gifts. The city's collection started in 1972 when the Civic Center was developed, and there was a mayor's art show. Work was acquired from that, and then there were gifts made to the city at that time. I don't know. I do think a next step in this process would be to look at the provenance of the works in the library's collection, and just to have the record straight, not only the information about the work of art, but who made the gift, at what time, was there an occasion, those kinds of things. I mean, my understanding is that the city of Salem is self-insured, so that, for example, if there is damage to a work of art, Spac, we pay for the repair. It's not like we put in a claim with someone. So I think the city attorneys could clarify all of that. I do think it would be good. I have found it very useful to know what the value of the works in the city's collection is. As we dealt with some of the construction around the library, and then looked at the value of the Hanson sculpture crescent probe in the Peace Plaza, that is a multiple $100,000 value. So it was something we wanted to protect, and I had no idea that the work was valued at that amount until we actually had an appraisal done of the entire collection. But what about comments or questions from others? Because again, this is not an action item for us today. Zach.
One of the comments you made was that there's a curatorial sort of activity that's going on, I guess, by foundation staff right now, library foundation staff.
The curatorial aspect of it, I guess, maybe I'm not using that word right, but it was Eileen Cotter-Howell and a group of people, including Paula Booth, decided where things would hang.
Yeah.
And so our expectation is that they'll stay where that group decided. So that part of it was curated. Beyond that, I don't know that there's a plan.
Yeah, that was sort of my question. Just, I don't know that Spac has an official role in doing curatorial work or determining, where artworks are going to hang in public spaces. Maybe that's done on an ad hoc volunteer kind of basis, but so I guess obviously there's a strategic conversations that you guys are having about risk and cost shifting and resource allocation and that kind of stuff. I just want to be careful not to contract, to remove a resource that currently exists to actually program the spaces, because I don't know that Spac would necessarily, as Spac, step into that role. But you spoke to wanting to maintain the artwork in the library space. So that's my only concern in hearing that is I think I understand the financial and risk management part of that, but the sort of how do we close that gap of making sure that artwork is hung in the library, revolves in certain spaces, how often what is the curatorial plan, and because I don't know that Spac is just I appreciate the comments about the professionalism of the Spac folks, but I don't know that this group is going to be able to take on that role. So that's my only sort of concern.
Right, and that's where I think that we really need to work closely with the library administration on this, because they use the building in the ways that a library organization uses the building. And sometimes that will require a temporarily moving art, as is the case now. We have a soul box exhibit up that we moved the Kristen Kuhn's piece for. Need to work out the process of who decides that and how are people contacted when they're in ownership, and what permissions can we give the library in terms of what they need to do for programming and things like that.
I do think that the collaboration of SPAC and Library Foundation or Library Advisory Board people to cite the works in the building went well. It was a gigantic, labor-intensive process. So I wouldn't envision a lot of those works moving unless, for example, the incoming mayor asked to borrow a piece for his or her office. We've tried to accommodate those kinds of requests, but that ad hoc committee on the reinstall of the work at the library, they did a lot of good work, and I would hope that we wouldn't have to reinvent that, except on a case-by-case basis. There's not a lot of room to put more work over there, to be honest, unless something comes out. Or budget, I might add. Okay, any other comments before we wrap up this topic? Oh, one more just a quick comment. The celebration of the 50 years of the Civic Center is on August 18th. Paula will be leading the tour, an art tour of the work, the collection at the library. I'm going to do the one around City Hall and outdoors. So do join in if you feel like it. It should be fun, and actually, it's on the agenda later on. So, but before Kate left, I just wanted to mention, and we can get you the information that you can share with some of your library folks, Kate. Although Christopher's been part of the working group for this event. Okay, Kate, thank you for coming as always, and the great partnership with the Library Foundation and the library. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to recall the meeting to order now that we have a quorum to do business with the addition of Spencer Emmerich and Paula Booth. So I'm going to go back to agenda item number 3, which is the approval of the consent agenda, the minutes from our July meeting, and the agenda for today. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, consent agenda is approved. Let's go down to our discussion items. Public Works Operations. Any update on that this morning, Keith?
Yes, I was in communication with Alan Dannon. He provided no updates because one of the artists was on tour vacation, and he will be checking in with them next month.
Okay, terrific. Glad to hear that's moving along. Now, Civic Center 50th anniversary. Keith and I were part of a working group meeting yesterday. There's a lot planned, and there's some interesting things on the art and architecture front for this August 18th event that starts at 3. And Keith is sharing his screen. There will be indoor and outdoor activities starting at 3. It's planned that there will be 2 concurrent art tours meeting at the public. There'll be a meetup out, I'm assuming just at the door of the library. People can either go inside the library with Paula for a tour through that space, or they can join up with me, and I'll be covering more ground indoors and outdoors. I guess the temperatures are supposed to be pretty hot that day, so we'll see how that goes. So the art tours are at 3:15 and at 4:45. If any and all of you would like to join, please do. Also, what's interesting for me is that the Docomomo, the mid-century modern architecture group, it's a national organization with a chapter in Portland. They are going to be doing a tour of the building, and it's, brutalist architecture roots. So that people might be interested in hearing from Ian McKenzie from Portland, who's going to be managing that. So there'll be activities inside the library. There'll be some performances by community performance groups. And, it's kind of come and go as you wish. There'll be some free snacks, water, and a chance to just, you can come in 70s costume, be part of a costume contest. But anyway, I think that the art, we're part of the deal. I just noticed, and I was on this call yesterday, this, you can see the foundation being poured for that Hanson piece. Hadn't seen that but until just now. Anyway, questions? Comments? If you have ideas for any fun facts that can be shared on these tours, I'd love to have some. I haven't had time to put my talking points together, but
Is this on the city website?
yes, I'm sure the schedule is on the city website. And I'm hoping, Spencer, that because many of your colleagues at CB2 like to dress up in costumes and go to parties, I know this from Gretchen Stone,
Yes.
that you can spread the word since your office is right across the street. People might really be into it.
That's what I was planning to do.
That's excellent.
Can I ask how long you would like the tour to be? I noticed so if I'm starting an art tour at 4:45, are people going to want to go on the 5:15 architecture tour as well?
There are double tours of everything.
Okay.
So, but I think 20 minutes.
Okay.
Does that sound too short?
It sounds short from my point of view because I can talk forever, but it's probably just right for somebody going on an art tour.
I would say no more than 30.
Okay.
There's no right answer there. You will be at an advantage because you're going to be indoors. And if it's 100, the library is air conditioned and there are plenty of water fountains, but I have a different challenge in terms of covering a lot more outdoor space. So, but I probably not more than 30. And I expect that people will join in and peel off, and hard to know. It's hard to know how many people are going to show up, ages, etc. So, but there's plenty of big work to talk about at the library. So I would, make it a greatest hits type of thing rather than every single work.
Can I ask a couple more questions here? I remember when before we took all the artwork down, before the new website went up with the virtual tours, there was an old web page that we used to be able to access that actually had images of a lot of the work. Is that does anyone else know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I can't seem to get to it anymore. Is that something I can have access to? I would just I'm going to go probably tomorrow and photograph, kind of map out my route, but I would love to see pictures of things, and I can't seem to find the website.
When you go into the scavenger hunt, I noticed that the images were not loading.
I couldn't get any images to load on the website either.
Okay, I will have to look into that.
Okay, that would be good because I'll be looking for some of the same information.
there was just, it was almost like an Excel sheet or something that was just a basic, like, here's a picture, here's what it is, here's a picture, here's what it is in alphabetical order. And it would be a super helpful document. I looked in all my past stuff and I can't find that. Anyway, the other thing is that, you know, I have seen like a digital copy of that original program from the grand opening in 1972, but I'm not sure how to access that either. I would love that as well, if anyone knows how to get a hold of that.
I have one.
Do
I
you?
got, Kate gave me, I have an original program,
Wow.
which I still have it here at my house, but I was going to, I'm going to try to get a high res scan of it. The library sent me a low res scan. Then I said, who has the thing? Kate had one extra copy. She gave it to me and I've got it here in hard copy. I can try, well, I don't know. I've got a busy schedule the next couple of days, but I'll see what I can do, Paula. But then I'm going to give it back to the library to have in their permanent archive because it's too valuable to have floating in anyone else's like private collection.
If you could even just shoot pictures of the pages with your phone and email them to me, that would be helpful. If there's anything that is relevant.
I can try. I'll tell you, it is a true period piece because it is set up. It's 8.5 by 11 format, folded. So it was like a really thin, tall, very like 10-point type. And then it's orange. It's like straight out of 1972. You would never design anything like this to be used as a public document these days.
Yeah.
But I can do that after this meeting. I'll try to shoot it. I might have to do it in piecemeal.
I guess my biggest thing so I have copies of all the labels that we edited. So I have all the information about each piece, but without going through all the labels, I would love a concise list of what art was there purchased for that grand opening.
Okay, I'll see if that's on this program, because what I have is the mayor's invitational list. Nancy Lindbergh was part of that show. John J. Cruzen was part of that show. Well, many of the people are dead, but the reason I wanted to see it was to figure out who was still alive.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'll get it to you.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about the 50th anniversary? I do think if any of you can show up and just, get in on it, it might be fun.
I'll plan on going on definitely the architecture tour.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I'll be there.
Okay, great. And Christopher, one of the librarians, also went through some just ephemera, old newspapers and things like that. And he's putting together an exhibit that will be on the plaza level of the library of blow-ups of, the front page of the newspaper and stuff like that. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing some of what he's pulled together. Okay, anything else on this topic? Let's move on because we do have a lot going on this morning. Public art collection story map. Keith.
Yes. I'm sharing screen. What you're looking at now is the good to go, ready to publish map that the staff created. And this one, as you can see, you can go through it, let it play by its own. But I think the discussion we left off last time was whether or not, it's how are we going to roll this out? And there was a question regarding other staff, other commissions having their own website. And so I wanted to share with you what we currently have available as a resource. This is the city's new and improved, or reorganized, I should say, website, in which all the boards and commissions have a similar look and feel. Everything from the Community Review Police Board to, Salem Public Art Commission. So our page is pretty boilerplate. The bylaws and guideline policies are here. Our murals in downtown, these are some of the links. I would like to suggest adding the story map here. There might be a process in which the public would have to sign up for a GIS account just in order for them to view the map, but I'm not too sure because I'm always available to see it. This is where we host all of our house our documents for the agendas and minutes, but this can be, and Trevor Smith, who is the city's public works PIO, he said we have all the control of changing what we see here. So for instance, the human rights, they started off with a video, and they have, you know, basic frequently asked questions or some of their goals for the year. He mentioned that we can, this is a historic landmarks one, so we could put our mission, vision, values that we choose to develop later on. There's some news letters, archives. I think we can use this page to link to additional art resources within the community, and that's something that you all could provide. And so giving each member control of changing the website, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it's going to have to be a consensus, you know, give me ideas I can update as a time, or we could do something on a monthly basis, kind of review, or you could set up a subcommittee, whatever you want. We have the ability to change what is displayed here. And I think that would be pretty good to start with.
I agree that this is a good place to start. And certainly we could populate, you know, could you scroll down so is there an image on our page right now or no?
No image.
Okay, great. So that would be one thing that, you know, we could either put up one piece or, you know, collage something. I do think starting with this would be fine. Mm-hmm. I think though, you know, I think some of us are more interested in a more spontaneous and active presence, so that people, you know, there could be, oh, look, you know, new work of art, without saying, oh, go to this city's webpage and pull up this. But that might be a longer conversation. But what about thoughts from others?
Is there any way to embed that story map? You know, I saw on the other page, it was actually a video that was, you know, the image at the top. Is there any way to, I mean, because it seems like it would be a shame if people couldn't access that story map without getting an app or whatever it is, the GIS, whatever it is. And it seems like it, you know, maybe that's what should be front and center, is just that photo of the piece at the police station is extraordinary. I mean, that would be a great photo to have if we just had to have one static photo. But is there any way to embed the story map in there?
That's a good question. I will pose that question to our communications team. I've seen videos, so I don't see why not, but we'll explore that option, Susan.
Thoughts from others? Again, this is not like a big action item, but I think just looking for regular improvements, you know, and making that our page as robust as we can would just be a good thing to be doing. Susan?
The other thing that I, you know, there is that pamphlet that was done about Spac and the artworks in Salem that I've been handing out at neighborhood association meetings and events, and people are surprised and, you know, and happily surprised with and also there's that little scavenger hunt handout, you know, even though paper and things like that seem a little bit antiquated, but I think people also enjoy having something to look at in their hands, physical. So I don't know if there's any thought of redoing that pamphlet and maybe the scavenger hunt, and also possibly having a QR code on there so that people could go directly to the story map, for instance.
That's a good idea. I can't remember when it's like a trifold brochure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when that was done, but a few years ago, at least, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, Heather gave me a box full. I don't have that many left. I don't know if they're still around, Keith, if there's still a lot of them. I mean, maybe it's something that we can, at least get rid of and distribute to the neighborhood services, and they could give them out at their, I know they do a Saturday market presence, and we do a Saturday market, just to and things, just to give it out, just to let people know that, that Salem has this public art collection.
Yeah. Maybe we could add a little sticker with an updated QR code to the website. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you.
Zach, did you have your hand up? Okay. Okay, and I also think coordinating with Travel Salem on some of this stuff would be a good idea. I know depending on who is staffing their information presence at the Grand Hotel, some of the people are super informed about art things, and some are just regular, convention visitor people, but some of the people are really good about getting the information out to visitors, pointing them in the direction of things. All right, let's keep going then. And Echo Earth Globe, the question was, is the Globe now officially a local historic resource? Does this process require any more action by City Council? Do you know the answer to that, Keith? I do not.
I'm not sure what the status of that is. I can ask a colleague right now.
Okay, great.
And get back to you.
Okay. All right, then let's are there any other general updates before we move on that people should be aware of? Okay. I guess one other general update is that the work is in process on the repainting of the Jim Mattingly mural on the backside of the Elsinore Theater. I happened to be at the Starbucks drive-through and I saw some scaffolding, and it looks like the work has started. I haven't been over there to get out of the car, but I will try to do that this afternoon. But Dan Cohen, who did the previous repair work on it, who's very active muralist, and then he does commercial mural painting in Portland, is doing the work. He did the Dumbo building at the east end of the Burnside Bridge, if you know that building, it's white with a lot of swirling designs. He did that job, among others. Okay, let's move on to Good Sense, which apparently needs cleaning. It's like, what a recurring theme.
Yes, so Good Sense, someone from the public reported that it needs some cleaning. And so I went out and got some brushes. But before I did that, I said, maybe I should check with the Art Commission to see what the approach should be. And so it looks like when I went and took a look at the piece, it looked like it was just debris from trees and moss and stuff like that. And so I did purchase a telescoping brush with a soft bristled head, but I'm not sure what approach we should take in terms of doing some cleaning like that.
Okay, so just so everybody's on the same page, this was a sculpture by Lillian Pitt and Michael and Sarah Lynn Hildy. Lillian lives in Portland. Michael and Sarah Lynn live in Corvallis. The project was a collaboration between the City of Salem and Spac and the Oregon Environmental Council, and it commemorates 50 years of the state of Oregon's bottle bill. My guess is that there is a maintenance plan that Michael Hildy probably submitted to the city when the piece was accepted, and we should look at that. And I would also just suggest that we call Michael Hildy up he is an artist, but he also is a former contractor. So this piece is very well made. And it's stainless, and the face of the figure is glass. And you think it's just kind of surface damage towards the top?
Yeah, where you can't reach. I have a picture of it on my computer. So I'm looking for it right now.
Okay.
I distinctly remember a maintenance plan being submitted when
Okay,
it was finished. So there's something somewhere
perfect.
telling us exactly what to do.
Excellent. I'll go check that out and return the brush.
The brush might be just the right thing, but
Yeah, exactly.
Could be.
Exactly. But I probably also have Michael Hildy's contact information, which I can get for you after this meeting.
Okay. I'll take a look in the files for a maintenance plan,
Okay.
and update you all on that.
Okay. I know at one point the parks people might have been like spraying fertilizer or grass feed or something like that. And there was some spotting on the concrete. So, we just need to watch for that. This was really a fun project. I think it'd be great if it was especially fun because the Oregon Environmental Council paid for half of it. But it was just a good, good to get more people involved in supporting public art. And I do think it's well cited in that little park. All right, let's go to the public art master plan topic. And I actually saw something that came out from the city of Hillsborough, and I'll send a link to Keith and he can circulate it following this meeting. Hillsborough has a very active public art program, and they are, and there's a lot of art in their parks. And so they actually put a survey out to the good people of Hillsborough about, what kind of art would you like to see in our parks? And they had already done some park planning about, parks are places for people to contemplate nature. Some parks, are very interactive with playground equipment and climbing, and other parks, are remember things and things that took place. And they actually have a very thoughtful survey. So it made me think that, there are some best practices that the city of Salem might consider in terms of getting public input into a citywide master plan. But Keith, are we just talking about this in general?
Yes. I did follow up with Courtney Knox Bush in the city manager's office. She was the city staff liaison who participated in the last Spac vision, mission, goals kind of update and strategic working plan. Those goals were completed, for 2018. She suggested, offered to do another workshop like that. It was, I think, a 3-hour workshop where people or the staff and commission came up with some of these goals. Her background in the consulting agency was in strategic planning, and that's what her position is with the city currently. So I thanked her for her offer and said I'd bring it to the commission. Alternatively, we could go for a private contractor. The city currently does not have a a contract with one that can provide it, so we'd have to go out for viewing or to secure someone like that.
I think I was part of that process.
Oh, you were? Okay. Can you explain what you did?
Yeah, my memory is that we met at Pringle Hall. It was a morning long meeting, and then we, I think, had a working lunch and then wrapped up. I'm sure that there was a planned, flow of discussion. And, I think it was more like we came up with a work plan for the year rather than what I would describe as a strategic plan or a citywide a citywide public art plan. I was also part of a more public meeting, although members of the public all of our meetings are open to the public. So, I think that there were observers at the Pringle Hall meeting. There was another meeting at Pringle Hall that was like a couple hour long meeting to talk about mural development specifically, and a lot more people came to that. And there was pretty robust discussion, and people love the idea of murals. People came from various neighborhoods, and, the mural activity in Salem at that time was largely concentrated around downtown. People expressed interest in getting art out into the neighborhoods. And, we've kind of been high centered on the mural topic since then. It still is cumbersome. It's expensive. It's not sleek. And I think there is definitely interest in the community for improving that mural process. But I suggest that we devote one of our meetings or half of one of our meetings to just tee up the discussion with Courtney. And she certainly knows Spac. She was our staff liaison, for a while. And she also is in the city manager's office, so she can get things done just because of what she does in city government. So what are other people's thoughts?
I'm interested in being involved in that effort, obviously, since I talked about it last time, but so if I can be a resource, I also have a background in strategic planning, so I'd be happy to be a liaison with her or whatever. I don't know what the process exactly looks like, or if we need to kind of think one up. But I like the idea of saying yes to everything, Keith, that you just suggested. Maybe in order. So we would devote some time in a meeting to preparing for a more focused discussion facilitated by Courtney, and then maybe if we need to move into a more, complete strategic process, we could consider whether or not an outside contractor is a possibility. I'm interested in sort of having parallel agendas maybe going forward. This is just as I'm brainstorming through it, of sort of like what's Spac's proactive steps, mission that we're acting on, every meeting, and what's our reactive sort of agenda the issues that come up from the community, things we need to respond to, one-off events that we're supporting, whatever, so that we can kind of have a way of talking about what we do in sort of both contexts. I sometimes find it a little hard to understand what our proactive goals are. I mean, I see in our agendas that we're reacting to issues that the community brings up, but I'm interested in sort of, and I think the question asked last time was, is there any obstacle to us adopting that posture? And it sounds like the answer is not really. So
Right.
Short of somebody coming and saying, you guys are overstepping your bounds, let's go for it. And I'm interested in being a resource for that. So however that plays out. But.
Yeah. I mean, I follow artists from across the state, and there are, people who do projections on buildings or in other spaces. And, we have a lot of large empty buildings in this town that could be a canvas for that kind of work. I mean, I would love to see some temporary seasonal installations in our parks, in some of our wilder parks that people could discover, as they're out and about. I mean, the city has the ability to light the Union Street Bridge. We could look to see whether there is an artist who might want to be involved with something like that. And I think the city has the ability to do that just with its own, bridge lighting work. So, all right, well, I think that this could be an important theme for Spac moving forward to, have conversations among ourselves and then also bring in other voices in the community, other parts of city government. I mean, there are water towers that the city owns that could be a canvas for a work of art, a different type of mural. There could be artists in residence. Susan.
Just now that the door has been opened to community art works in the street art program, perhaps we can have a voice in other community art programs as well. So that's maybe something that Spac could play a role on.
I think there are many people who are the leaders of cultural organizations around the city who would welcome an opportunity to talk about culture in Salem. And, how are resources allocated? How can resources be increased? How can those entities come together and have a stronger collective voice? All right, I think, are we good on this topic for today? Okay. All right, potential Spac field trips. I've got to say, I thought about emailing my colleague at the Oregon Arts Commission yesterday, and I got sidetracked by something else. But I'm very interested in getting into that new Oregon State Treasury building by the old Costco, because I've heard that there is some interesting work there. But I think we should try to make that happen. It's not a rush, but make some kind of a field trip would just be fun to do. Sadly, the Oregon State Capitol, I think, is already closed for another couple years. So you can go see all the portraits of all the old governors at the state archives now, because they had to move them out of the area that's going to be worked on. All right, recruitment. And I'm glad that we have Olivia, who's joined us this morning, because she is interested in service on Spac. But it seems like the city's boards and commissions review group will meet in September, Keith?
Correct. Yes. Thank you, Olivia. I know you just sent the message that you have to leave in a couple minutes. Oh, I think she just left. But anyway,
no, I'm here. I can stay for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, excellent. And so these are our current vacancies. One is for experience in museum curation, art restoration, or art appraisal. One is experience in landscape architecture, real estate development, or community foundations. And one is in Salem community at large. And so there are 7 applicants now. And because there are community at large, we will be forwarding all those applications to the city manager's boards and commission selection committee. The mayor is part of that committee as well. Let's see.
Outgoing Mayor Bennett is part of that committee. Okay,
correct.
Got it.
Yes. And so we normally have the current board members review those applications. That is something that staff does, and also staff forwards these to the commission. If some candidates are not selected in this round, their names are still kept in the collection to pass it on for the next time there's any vacancies that they're appropriate. It's appropriate for. Olivia, do you have any questions regarding the process?
No, I don't. But I will say on my end, it's between you all and the libraries. So
thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning.
Chris, do you have any other questions regarding the recruitment process?
No, I would just say if people know of people who would be right now or in the future, I would encourage them to complete it's a very easy online application that is accessed through the city's website. And so I would just, again, help spread the word. I know it's been posted on the city's social media. It's out there. Susan, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, who is on the selection committee? I mean, not the individual members, but how, is it city staff or who is it? And what criteria do they use for selecting commissioners?
It's composed of city council members. The city has code. And so you can see on the screen that Keith is sharing that Spac has special membership requirements so that, we are a pretty specialized group. So we are looking for people who are experienced in the arts education or art criticism, museum curation, art restoration, or art appraisal. And I've got to say, I think this code could be, if we were to amend our code, we might tweak some of the membership requirements so that, we don't really need someone from a community foundation or real estate, but architecture and landscape architecture. Maybe we would want someone who is, involved in community development. But anyway, right now, this is what we have. So for this next round, we need people who can fit into these boxes. And apart from that, the process used to involve a question that said, have you attended a meeting of these boards and commissions? So I know prior to my being appointed, I was a guest at 3 or 4 meetings. So I became, more familiar with what Spac had on its agenda and what was coming up. But is there a process beyond that, Keith?
No, there's no requirements for attending meetings. So it is like that.
Yeah.
That's
So I would, if you think that, people who have interest will make a time commitment, or, forward look, and are advocates for public art, I would have them put their name in. Paula.
So one of my colleagues is interested, and I talked to him yesterday. He's been traveling, so he hasn't submitted his stuff yet, but I think he's going to do it today. If he didn't get on this round, does he need to submit again for next time? Because I know a number of us, our terms expire in December.
No, he would not need to submit it again. They keep it in the pool.
I'm just not sure if he fits in these categories. I mean, art primarily.
Then that's
I'd have him submit. Is it your colleague at Western?
Mm-hmm.
He isn't he involved in the arts?
Oh, very much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the first category. 2 members experienced in the arts, art education, or art criticism.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Susan.
I did want to mention that I had invited someone else to come to Eddie Diaz Salazar, and he texted me this morning that he had to go to the doctor, but he was planning to attend. He said he might join us later. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not.
Yeah, I've sent an invite and the Zoom link meeting to all of the applicants, and Olivia was the only one today.
I had one more question about term limits. If someone steps down from one position, let's say even the chair, vice chair, that kind of thing, can they then move over to another position?
No, there are term limits.
That's it. It's like 3 years, and then is there a time limit after that they could come back on the commission?
I think it's 1 year. You can resubmit. You can serve 2 terms, And then if you go off, I think after a year, you could resubmit your interest in serving on the same board or commission. I'm not positive about that, but I think that that's correct.
I recently looked at it and I'm pretty sure that is correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So 2 3-year terms and then take a year off and then you can apply again.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
All right. So we covered the library collection, potential library collection transfer with Kate. Is there anything that anyone wants to add to that discussion before we move on to the next thing on the agenda?
I apologize that I got to our meeting late, but just very quickly, was that conversation about moving the foundation art into the city's collection?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes. And it seems I'm certainly amenable. I don't see any reason not to. It'll depend on really if both parties say yes. I don't see any reason to not do it. They didn't, their part of the collection was never appraised. I'll be curious what the value is and what kind of what they think are the most valuable pieces. But it's everything, the condition of everything was reviewed when the work was in storage or before it went into storage. So there's nothing that's broken. We wouldn't be accepting anything that hasn't already been repaired. And the work is already installed back at the library. So I can't really see a downside to this. Okay, it sounds like there aren't more comments. Let's go to next up on the mural front. It sounds like we are going to get, if we don't already have them, applications from the First Baptist Church mural on Liberty Street downtown, and then the Rivers condominiums. Are the applications for both of those in your hands now, Keith?
Yes, I have applications, complete applications from both. They are working, and they is the Rivers Condominium and First Baptist Church legal representatives are working with our legal team to ensure that the it just left my mind. The easement for the building faces are correct. Something with the condominiums is that they need to get a certain number of votes from their association. And with the First Baptist Church, they don't own the property. It's another property owner. So they're working with the actual property owner to get these easements signed. However, we can move forward with the public process of the hearings to approve of the designs and concepts. And so the first one I have is the First Baptist Church. It's a mural that's already existing, or a painting that's already existing, and they'd like to just have it approved to be part of the city's collection. And then the Rivers, they actually are even creating a nonprofit to raise funds for it, but it's going to be a large one, and that's not completed yet. I mean, it's in development.
Right.
So the plan is to have the public hearing next at the next Spac meeting, and I will be posting this 30 days before. So this Friday, I will be posting the public hearings. It'll have a description of the artwork as is for the existing one with a picture of it, and the other one will be just a concept description of where it is and a concept drawing or image of the pieces.
Okay. I think that this is going to raise a question that has been raised before, and around making at least some of these murals part of the city's fine art collection. So the painting of the cars on the building that is used by the First Baptist Church, to me, this painting would never be part of the city's art collection, but we'll have the public hearing next month. I would encourage people to drive by the mural. It's kind of it is 2 cars. It's on a building that's over by the new police station.
And can we clarify that, if I remember correctly, this is a product of, this is a process mechanism that's defining this? Like, in order for the city to approve a mural, we have to accept it into the collection? Is that what's happening? Is there a way of changing that process so that we can just, like, that seems like an unnecessary intellectual thing to be doing. Like, we're obviously not taking a mural into the collection in any meaningful way, and we're not adopting legal responsibility for maintaining it. I don't think we're doing anything. This is a way of getting around transportation requirements? Is that I'm not trying to be too blunt, but is that what's happening?
I don't know. This mural code was in place before I joined Spac quite a while ago. This is one of the big issues around murals in Salem. And I think it would be a good idea to have another conversation with the city's legal team before the September public hearing to just understand why the acceptance of the mural into the city's public collection is a requirement.
Yeah, I'd like to understand that too, but partly to understand if, are we the arbiter? To your point a minute ago, like we would never accept this into the permanent collection, except that's the only mechanism to allow for murals.
Exactly.
And if that's what's happening, then we should accept everything. We should pass some sort of thing that basically says we're not the arbiters of taste for public art. As long as it complies with city code provisions, you can put a mural up. I just don't, because otherwise we're in this really weird position of, oh, well, we have to accept it in the permanent collection and therefore it has to meet some sort of criteria. But are we really doing that? Is that our role? So I don't either. The code, the city cleans the code up and removes this permanent collection requirement, or we need to somehow stipulate that we can just do that. Because I think we're going to find ourselves in an awkward position, which maybe we already are, which is why there are no murals.
Exactly.
Is that we keep denying stuff, or I don't know exactly what the history is, but that's my fear, is that we're inadvertently being placed as an obstacle to murals rather than facilitating them because of this need, and that we need to resolve that one way or the other. So,
Agreed.
I totally agree. I know that there's it's that whole, also the community art aspect of it. There are many people in my community, and I know in my neighborhood and other neighborhoods, that are really love to see more murals and already have visions of things they'd like to do, and they feel stymied by the requirements and they don't understand them. And I think it really needs to be clarified and looked at to see what other cities do, how they handle it. I'm sure there are murals all over the country, in cities, and they're done somehow. And I think it's really worth putting in some time to find out how other cities do it, and making some recommendations on how we'd like to see Salem handle their murals.
May I share some documentation?
Yes.
Okay, I'm new to this too, so we're learning this all together. This is part of the, let's see, the Salem Public Art Commission Public Art Collection Guidelines, Policies, and Procedures. This is what I was going to bring up later on. It outlines essentially our responsibilities. I'm going to get to some of the parts we're going to talk about. This is the acquisition policies. I was going to review this when we looked over the Jesse Swickert sculpture we talked about last week or last month. Here's the acquisition procedures for determining the need. So those sculpture, that sculpture, we can talk about going through that policy. And then down here are the donations and gifts. So this would control what we would do or how we would approach accepting the gifts from the Salem Public Library. But it sounds like it was more of a partnership. And here is what we do for public mural procedures. The artist will submit for a proposal for the mural. So this is just all the legal description. I believe this council is allowing the public to have a hearing, to be able to express
Uh-huh.
a public comment. And I'm not sure if this was the most appropriate forum for it versus a city council. But it sounds like the responsibility of the public comment period is for the commission, and what is accepted into the collection is based on these items here. Selection guidelines. When selecting or commissioning work of arts, the commission shall ensure that the following factors are addressed: artistic quality, compatibility, maintenance, public safety, diversity, feasibility, duplication, cost. I'm not sure if there was a selection criteria or a ranking system or a scoring for the last murals. I would have to look, but I know that they did go through the public process following these guidelines in order for the last two to get approved. So this will be an opportunity for us to go through this as well. But I hear your concern, and we have several options at this point in time. We could push it and talk to legal before we have the public hearing.
Can you send that around again? I know I have it, but I don't have it at my fingertips. Is it possible for you to
Oh,
publish?
yeah.
What is
Yes, and
this?
it's probably on the webpage that we looked at earlier in the
Yeah.
meeting.
You could just send me the link to that. That'd be great.
Yes, we'll do.
I think it would be good to talk to the city's legal team. The two requests that will be coming to us are for different projects. One is a project that seems to be following the rules. And they've retained an art, they have a concept, they have an artist who is a professional muralist. And they are talking about raising a significant amount of money to do a large work. The other one is something that happened already. It's been up on this wall for probably a few years. And it was done, I think, as a way of helping some folks who were down on their luck have something to do with their time. Not professional artists, not even community artists, as my understanding. I could be wrong. So, I'm more concerned with the mural that's already existing than I am about the other proposed project. But I do think going back and talking to the city attorneys about why these things must be put into the city's collection would be a good idea. And then I do think there are many best practices in other jurisdictions that we could look to in terms of revamping a functioning mural program in Salem. Okay.
So, Chris, just to be clear, are we proposing to not hold a public hearing in September in order to meet with the legal team at the next meeting?
Yeah, why don't we do that? That would work. I know, like I said, one of these murals is already up, so it's not like they're dealing with impending rain in order to get a project done this summer. The Rivers project it's going to require a lot of fundraising. It's not scheduled to happen until a year from now. So there's not a rush in my mind. And the people seem to be following the rules. They have already been in touch with the city and so on.
Okay.
Is there any objection to pushing a determination about these applications until October at the earliest? Okay, good. Okay, moving on to action items. The drummer. I think we have a proposal from Lee Immonen. And,
Yes. Pulling that one up.
okay, great.
I have to leave at 11, just saying out loud.
Okay,
But I'm in favor of Lee's proposal for the reasons we talked about last time. So that's my comment on that.
other comments. I actually think he would be a good choice. He's familiar with Robert Hess. He was a student of his. Lee is an accomplished sculptor in his own right. He has been involved in the public art realm for a long time. His large piece in Salem is Sampo, which is behind the State Lands Building on Summer Street. Monumental work. And he's a great guy to work with. I say that from my former work at the Oregon Arts Commission.
Which option were we leaning towards as a group? Or are we wanting to see a proposal of what that finish might look like?
I would actually like to, I'd love to see a sample of both, if he could provide a material sample. I think that would just be useful.
Yeah, I'm in favor of using them.
And I'd have to go back and look at this again, but as I understand, the options have to do with referencing that sandblasted stainless, I think, might be something that creates a kind of water-like image. And so I think it's sort of, do you want to reference its original installation in that Civic Center viewing pond kind of thing, or do you want to?
Well, yeah.
But I agree. I'm just saying I think that's the context for the difference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that would be much more durable than something painted, but I mean,
yeah,
if we were to end up, because of cost reasons, I think there is some sort of semi-gloss powder coated, or something that is a little, or something is a little more reflective if we end up going that way too.
Yep.
Other comments?
Would there ever be a situation where this would go back into water? And would that be a consideration of what material would be used?
I don't know. I think that the original pond area has been filled in. And then I'm wondering if there could have been leakage, which caused the sculpture to be moved out of water, and that pond emptied and then infilled with, it looks like there might be a kind of an Asian themed garden.
I think
In that-
the Civic Center, isn't that on the next bond cycle? Repairs to that existing structure.
Yes.
So in that, thinking about that, there would be a percent for arts in that, and that could be a portion of something that maybe we dedicate it to.
Oh, good point.
I mean, that is something to keep in the back of our minds, is that maybe that, since that area is, there's some repair that needs to happen in that area specifically, that could be a possibility.
In which case, maybe the lower cost proposal would be appropriate, since it would be sealing it, and you wouldn't see the finish because we should ask Lee, I guess, what his input would be about that.
Yes, and maybe we should talk to Alan Dannon in engineering about kind of the general thrust of what that, is it a seismic improvement, Keith, to the Civic Center? Yeah.
It's a seismic improvement to the Civic Center. And at the last meeting, he mentioned improvements to the fountain plumbing and a softer greening of the landscaped area. So maybe a pond with the rooster and thing could be part of the planning. So good ideas.
Yeah. Well, I think we should tell Lee that we are going to move forward and then just be clear that we're just going to ask, we've got some issues to resolve with the city. And I would personally like to see a material sample, as we move forward with this. It would be pretty amazing to get the piece back outdoors again.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, especially if the original intention was for it to be coming out of the water, it just seems like any effort that we could do to have that happen again,
Well, it'll be interesting to
Worth it.
see whether Christopher at the library has any more information, if he has more photographs or newspaper coverage of the Civic Center opening with that sculpture in place. Or we can actually, maybe we could ask for his help in locating any of those images or background. He seems really like a good resource, like the model librarian. Okay.
So Chris, this is an action item. So I'd like to ask the commission if they would like to take action on accepting this, and I can move forward with the purchasing process of obtaining, I think at this point, possibly a sole source agreement, or not quite sure what the purchasing agreement would be at this point.
Okay. Well, it seems like the city has spoken to several vendors about the work, and,
Okay.
Based on the response that meets the need, it's not like it wouldn't be a totally sole source, like you've
Perfect.
done some comparison shopping.
Excellent.
Would anyone like to make a motion to proceed with an agreement with Lee Immonen?
I'll make that motion to proceed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Nope.
Oh,
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion about Lee Immonen and the drummer sculpture? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
And no one is opposed. All right, motion carries, Keith.
Excellent.
And let's move on to our final action item before we lose Zach in just a couple of minutes.
Okay.
We at our previous meeting, we reviewed a sculpture by Jesse Swickard, which was offered for sale to the city. I did not hear at that time that there was interest in moving forward with a purchase. Can you pull that image up again, Keith?
Yes.
Okay. And then let's open the floor for discussion. I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember the sculpture.
Okay, let's see. I have to look through the email you forwarded to me from, is it your foundation?
Yes, from the Oregon Artist Series Foundation.
1 second.
And that group declined to buy it.
and I think we were going to discuss what the guidelines are for
Correct.
selecting something for.
And it's in this document that's
Okay.
on the screen. Here's
Oh.
the piece.
Okay. So here is the piece. And for context, I know, Zach, I really appreciated your comments about it. I went and looked on the Salem Public Art Commission Public Art Collection Guidelines, Policies, and Procedures, which is on the website that I will be sending everyone. And in this section for acquisition policies and procedures, there's acquisition policies, which essentially provide criteria on which selection for the pieces should be made upon. And then there's placement guidelines. So you're talking about, the library partnership. So we do have placement guidelines. But this is where I think this sculpture offering to purchase would fall under, is acquisition procedures, is the determining need. And so if we read through this, the commission identifies a need to acquire a work of art for the public art collection based on one or more of the following factors. A specific capital project is proposed that requires a purchase of a work or works of art. The city has obtained funds by donation, grant, bequest, or other means to the purchase of works of art the purchase of works of art is a condition of the donation, grant request, or other means. The public art fund has monies that are not required by law to be used to purchase works of art in connection with the construction of a specific capital project, and the purchase of work of art could, and then meet these conditions. So I think that's where we would fall in terms of a piece being presented for sale. There's no specific rule about a solicitation, I guess.
Right.
So I just wanted to provide this context so that I can, in this minutes, refer to a process that we followed.
So there's certainly nothing that would require us to move forward with this.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
So
excellent.
So I guess let's
I'm
open.
not in favor, but I have to jump. So
Okay. All right. Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
thank you.
Is
Okay, bye-bye.
there anyone who would like to propose that the city of Salem purchase this sculpture? Okay,
Excellent.
I'm hearing that there is not interest at this time, Keith, in this work, this offer.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for providing all the background for us so that we could just kind of get everything on the record. Is there any other business to come before us this morning? All right, we've covered a lot of ground and we're going to finish a little early. So thank you all. I'll just put a plug in. If you haven't seen April Waters' exhibit at the Halle Ford Museum of Art, this is the last week and it is beautiful, and icebergs from Antarctica. So it's very calming and cool. Susan.
Just gonna also plug the Englewood Forest Festival that's happening on Saturday. There's gonna be a lot of artists. I'm gonna have some of my artwork, but also some crafts for sale there. And I think a lot of community organizations are gonna be represented, a lot of music, a lot of entertainment. Should be really good.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for reminding us.
What time does that start, Susan?
I think it's 9 to 4 or
Oh,
10.
okay.
I know I have to be set up by 9, so
Okay,
I'm not exactly sure. At least I would say at least 10 to 4.
okay, thank you.
And I think that's one of the earliest parks in Salem. Is that the oldest park in Salem, Carol? Yeah, I think so too.
And
It is a lovely setting for a fair, and it's in a cool neighborhood. I know the Lord and Scriber Garden Tour was on 21st a couple years ago, and that was a cool setting.
And they helped in planning the park, Lord and Scriber.
Right. Okay, it sounds like we are ready to adjourn if there is no objection. And I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 11:03 a.m.
Great.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Have a
Thank
great
you all.
day, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.